It's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. This month, we're talking about resilient identity and the ways that applies to motherhood and raising children so that they can live their truth resiliently and give the world permission to do the same. With me today, I have Emily, who does holistic trauma recovery. Thank you for being here, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I am a holistic trauma recovery coach, mama of two beautiful babies, and they are really the reason why I am where I am. So when I became a mama in 2018, I was completely unaware of how my trauma would impact that. I thought, it's been 25 plus years. It's not going to matter. Yeah, I was wrong. And it came barreling down the tracks like a freight train going full speed. And there I was sitting on my couch looking at my beautiful baby girl and faced with all of the repressed emotions. So that's where my journey started. And it's been a number of years, almost 6, of working on healing all of those feelings.
How, through your journey, would you then define resilience?
So I define resilience as allowing yourself to feel the hard feelings, but not sitting down to have tea with them and not letting them hold you back.
Was that your experience with motherhood and the trauma that hit?
Yeah, it was. I had to allow myself to feel the feelings. I could no longer ignore them, but I didn't want to stay there because staying there would have produced the exact opposite of what I wanted. And so I had to allow myself to feel them. And then I had to pick myself back up and work through them and not allow them to hold me back.
How did that shift your identity, and why do you think motherhood triggered that?
A lot of my trauma is related to a mother wound. So becoming a mother was, for me, in my identity, a mother was not safe. A mother was dangerous. A mother did not have unconditional love. A mother did not care if she hurt you or not. And so I had to redefine that and understand that I could redefine it, and I didn't have to fit that description. And my journey was unique, not that the decisions that were made by my mother or any other maternal figure in my life were not valid. They were, given the time, the resources, the knowledge that they had, but I could make different choices.
So you could identify as a different kind of mother.
Yes.
You could be, in a sense, a better mother.
Yes.
A mother that met her child's needs, that didn't create trauma.
Yeah.
Still make mistakes, but not at the level that you experienced in your life. I think that's really brave and reassuring. And it is definitely key to being resilient, is to realize that you have the opportunity to choose your identity and who you want to be. And our kids need that example. And they need to know they can be the chain breaker, that they can make things better, that they get to decide what to keep that they learned from you and what not to keep. And it's a blessing for everyone when we're allowed to live our truth and to have a voice. What were some other things you did besides sitting with the emotions that allowed you to identify where to change? Did it start with thoughts? Did it start with actions? Did you do things like journaling or therapy? What was the most helpful to you?
So at first, I sat with it for a long time. And then I opened up first to my husband, and then I found a therapist to speak with over Zoom because I lived in the sticks. And then it moved to things like journaling and breath work and other tools that I have in what I refer to as my trigger toolkit that have helped me along my journey to calm my nervous system and rewrite the narrative that my identity was defined by.
I really like how you said that, because really our identity is a story we're telling ourselves, whether it is true or not. We are the authors holding the pen. And when we can start recognizing what really aligns with us and what is really true for us, all of a sudden the door opens up to the potential for a greater identity than maybe even we knew we had at first. And I honor you for doing the inner work. Doing the inner work is where it all starts, and it will catch up with us eventually, and maybe when we least expect it. But these triggers are powerful because it's this opportunity to make a decision of what are you going to do about it. And it's going to look different for everyone, and that's okay. But it's important to find the resources and the people and build the community and support around you. So opening up to your husband is so important because that's an intimate part of your relationship and who you are as a mother as well, and how you can be supported. And that would make you stronger and bonded together. Also, with your child, you're showing them what love can look like, what a healthy relationship can look like, and also not to tolerate abuse either while it's happening or after. Because when we continue to not resolve our issues, we're just giving power back to our abuser. And it's really important that we take our power back, take our voice back, take our energy back, take our mind, our thoughts, those triggers, own them, and then decide what we get to do with them. Is that the work that you do now?
Yeah. So I do a lot of work around helping trauma surviving mamas to redefine their identity from what their trauma told them they are, who they are, versus who they were actually created to be. And those
Love
two
that.
things are night and day. They're night and day. And, you know, a lot of the truths around who you were created to be are based, for me, in biblical principles and what God says, who God says I am.
And I think that's important. I myself identify as a child of God, and I really find a lot of strength in having a loving Heavenly Father that is a parent and shows how we can be parents and allow agency and allow identity, but within safe boundaries and guidelines and under the love of a loving home, and being that base for a child to come to as they figure it out, wherever they are on their journey. And that identity is eternal.
It is. No one can take it away.
And I find comfort in the idea that He knows me better than I know myself, and He knows my children better than I know them. So when I don't know what to do, He will know what to do, or He'll guide me in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, that part is very, very helpful, because there are many times when I personally don't know what to do.
But we have the right intention, and we're putting love in it, and God recognizes that, and then He does the rest. But we have to open up and give Him our agency and our faith so that He has power to do so. And we have to be listening, and we have to know how He speaks to each of us, which is different, a little different for everyone. And that's important. And our kids need to know how that works too. Because if He's been our source of resilience and strength and love and helped us to find our identity of who we are eternally and in this moment and progress, then that's the key to making our families really thrive as we identify as an eternal family, that we're all brothers and sisters, that we're all here to help and guide each other.
Absolutely.
Do you have an example of a time that God gave you an answer with your children or for yourself in your healing process?
Um, Let me see here. So, a lot of my trauma left the mark of I am unwanted or unloved or unlovable. Dealing with paternal abandonment, um, parental abandonment, and neglect, and all of those things. But through biblical examples, God says, no, Emily, you are loved. You are chosen. You are my daughter. And so when I'm able to internalize that and let it soak into my skull, and really understand that, then what other people have done doesn't define who I am or what I am. Their actions are, their
There's a book
actions.
that Oprah has out there that I've read about trauma recovery, and it's defines this so well because it says, "What happened to you?"
Mhm.
You know, it wasn't you. It's what happened to you. The trauma is not you. The abuse is not you. The triggers are not you. They are a response, somewhat
Mhm.
biological, that are actually normal for the response to those things. But when other people aren't familiar with it, or you're not familiar with what's going on, the next course of action is to think something's wrong with you. When there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with you,
No.
there is simply symptoms, patterns, and behaviors that need to be readdressed, but they can be. Because as you
Absolutely.
discussed, with awareness, you can rewire the brain, you can create new habits and new pathways and new patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, it is totally possible. More than possible.
I think the key is when you let God in, he helps you find your path with it because there's
Mhm.
many different forms of therapy. And some may be appropriate for you and work, and others may not. You can learn as much as you want to about psychology and do the work, but really being honest with yourself and knowing when you're in alignment, your truth, when you feel like you're in that identity of who you really are, you have to be familiar with that. Otherwise, you don't know what to let in and what to let out, or what to change or what not to change. And then beyond that, you're allowed to elevate your identity. You're allowed to keep working towards that eternal potential of who you are as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you.
Has that been your experience? What truths have you learned about yourself? Or was there a moment where you just knew, this is who I am?
So there was a pivotal moment just last year when I was diagnosed with PTSD after many, many years after the fact of the depth of my trauma happening. It took me many years to get diagnosed with PTSD. And when I understood what that meant for my brain physiologically, and then I was able to look back and see what I had accomplished, despite that physiological difference with how my brain developed because of the circumstances I grew up in, I was the cloud of self-doubt, the cloud of speaking down about myself, negative self-talk dissipated
Mm.
because I was able to, oh, my brain was doing this and I still did X, Y, and Z. Wow, that's amazing. I'm actually kind of amazing. And not in a I'm full of myself, look at me go kind of a way, but in a way of acknowledging how strong I am, how resilient I am, how intelligent I am. All things that I couldn't do before.
Yeah. And I've been amazed myself to see with some of the work that I've done, diving into different forms of PTSD treatment. One of them is EMDR. I was introduced to it, I think, last year for the first time and was kind of surprised I hadn't known about it before. And I was really not sure it would work. I've done tons of different things and they're all helpful. But like this promise to take a memory or a trigger in the past and completely resolve it. And I'm like, well, I got to try this because I got to find out if this is true. And we took a milder one and worked on it. And I was amazed. I was amazed from going from completely triggered by even thinking about the memory. It was a very, very young memory that wasn't very clear and chaotic. And just so it was more emotional of a memory than anything. And that was the feelings that didn't make sense. And it was interesting as we worked through it and brought the adult logic into those erratic child chaotic emotions that really couldn't process what was going on properly to just resolve it. Now it's just a memory. And the logic now with the emotion has calmed it. And I was amazed. I didn't think that was possible, nor did I really realize how much that memory was an issue until I did the work. And I'm so grateful now to know what is possible because some that cope with addictions or get into bad behaviors trying to resolve these things need the hope to realize when you find the right thing to resolve the behavior, to replace the addiction, it is so freeing to realize you can change and you can evolve and you can move forward with your life and no longer have something that's in the past holding you back.
Yeah. Yeah. When you have that hope that it's possible and you don't have to accept that there's going to be a black cloud looming over your head, following you around forever and ever, amen. It's like there's sunshine again, and the black cloud can dissipate. It's
Or
amazing.
if you've never felt the sunshine before,
yeah,
it may be unfamiliar. If you grew up with a lot of chaos and that's your normal, calm can feel weird and unfamiliar.
It's very foreign.
But it can become a good thing.
Yeah.
But it takes time to recognize that for some.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not an overnight kind of a thing. It takes a long time.
It takes work.
It takes a lot of work. Hard work, but it's work that's worth it.
Very rewarding.
Yes.
I'm curious to know how all this work that you've done has showed up in your mothering and your parenting now.
Okay, so when I started on my motherhood journey, my nervous system could not handle any level of stimulation. A child crying, plans going awry. My nervous system could not handle it. It would lead to a meltdown very quickly. Now, almost 6 years into my journey, I am the one who holds the calm together in my household.
Wow.
When things go awry, as they do with two small kids, emotions get on the high side, mama is usually the one who can calm it down and deflate the situation. So it's been an amazing journey. And there were points in the middle where I thought, oh my goodness, is this ever going to get better? And then one day, I believe my son threw a temper tantrum and I kept my calm. And I didn't realize it in the moment because I was dealing with the situation. But then I thought about it. I was like, whoa, I didn't lose my mind when he was having a cow. That's amazing. And so, keep at it. If you are in the midst of your journey and it feels like it's not going to get better, keep doing the things that you're doing to heal, because it will get better. It takes time to rewrite neural pathways.
You are definitely a resilient mama. Way to go.
Thank you.
And now you help other moms and you're a coach. Do you have an example of one of your clients that you've worked with that has allowed you to really know what resilience and identity can look like?
Yeah. So I worked with a mama who, she wasn't totally on the struggle bus. Life was okay, but it wasn't what she wanted. She was in a pattern of self-sabotage. She was self-harming by eating the foods that she knew hurt her. And in the process of working together, she was able to stop that behavior. She was able to drop some extra pounds. And she actually saved enough money for a down payment on a house.
Wow.
In the process. And our work was not financial, but it boils over. When you work on one area, other areas are impacted. So it was amazing to see how our emotional work impacted her physical health, her financial health, her relational health, because her relationships with her kids and her spouse and her extended family also improved. It was just amazing to see how full circle it was.
Well, the one person you have to put up with your whole life is yourself. You better like yourself. You better know how to love yourself. And once you do, that'll spill over to every aspect of your life. And that's why it's so important to understand that you're allowed to have a resilient identity. You're allowed to find your truth and then put safeguards around it. I think too, as women, something we struggle with is feeling worthy of the identity of who we really want to be. And if we really step into that, I think we start prioritizing ourselves in a different way. And some think we have to self-sacrifice and take care of everyone else. But we do first have to take care of ourselves. That's part of teaching those around us to also take care of themselves in whatever aspect that is. So this work, this inner work, this getting through trauma or whatever the habits are that are not serving you, definitely has great rewards at the end of that journey. It may seem like it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And the work is never really done, to be honest, but it gets better every single step of the way because we're either moving forward or we're moving backward. There is no being stagnant. And God intends us to progress and to move forward as part of this life. And He is going to let us make choices and decisions. But He also has given us all the resources available to make the changes that are positive in our life for us and for our children and for the next generation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any last thoughts that you'd like to share or stories of resilience or identity with you, your family, or your clients?
No, I just want to encourage those listening right now that if you are on a journey of overcoming trauma, healing, give yourself grace. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty all of the time. Allow yourself to feel your feelings and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Never give up. Absolutely. It makes me think of the further you fall, the higher you'll bounce. And sometimes you have to pull a slingshot way back to get where it needs to go. So understand that if God is putting you through a lot, or you feel like you're going through a lot, it really has a blessing on the other side of it. You may not be grateful for it at the time, but hindsight is always 20/20. And someday it will all make sense. And God's ways are not our ways. His timing is not our timing. But we do have to do our part. We have to do the work. And then we have to leave the rest up to him.
Yeah, I've learned that God does not work in a logical way. So.
Well, and we often know what we want.
Yeah.
He knows what we need.
Absolutely.
And he often has plans to bless us that are beyond our own comprehension if we will just let him bless us.
Yeah, we have to allow it. We have to allow it.
Where can people find you if they want to work with you?
So you can find me on my website, home.mendedmamalife.ca. That's home.mendedmamalife.ca. And
I'm sure we'll have a link there somewhere for you to click on that. Thank you, Emily, so much. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you, listeners, for being here. I hope this served you today. Please check out other episodes of the Resilient Mother podcast. We have lots of different subjects that we are here to serve, to help mothers to be resilient and to create the next resilient generation. God bless. Believe in you, believe in yourself, and we'll see you at the next episode of the Resilient Mother podcast.